So I was at the club in Dallas and shit, and I was partying, drinking and shit, and this nigga started sending me shots. Okay, he started sending me cotton candy vodka. He started sending me Moscato and shit, like just sending me shots, and I'm like, what the fuck? First, I thought he had the wrong person. I was like, is this for me and shit? And the nigga was like, he was with his motherfucking girl and shit. His girl's bad than a bitch. I'm talking about fine than a bitch. And I'm gay. But he fine than a bitch. The girl was fine than a bitch, though, his girl. And so was he. But, I was like, what the fuck? I said, this straight nigga sending me shots and shit and whatever. So I finished my shots and I'm just a little tipsy, and shit. So I get up because I don't drink like that. So I get up and shit, and I walk outside, to get some fresh air. And I leaned up against the wall and shit. Girl, this nigga came behind me and shit, and he was like, "What's up?" And I said, "What's up?" Like I'm looking like, bitch. One, I don't even know you. Two, you with your girl. Three, I don't fuck around like that. Out here at all shit like that. And he was like, you new here? I ain't never seen you at the club before. And I was like, I come here once in a while and shit. And he was like, oh, okay. He was like, so what you into? I said, what? He said, what you into? He was like, you smoke? And I was like, oh, nah, not really, nah. Like then he was like, oh, cause I got some weed and shit. And I was like, oh. And I was like, that's a whole week and shit. I was like, get out of here with the shit. And then he was like, oh, he said, where you from? And I was like, I told him where I was from and shit. And he was like, that's what's up. And then he was like, you mess around? And I said, oh my God, here we go again. And he was like, you mess around? I was like, shit, I just came to have some fun. Came to, party and shit and do whatever. And he was like, I can show you some fun. And I was like, oh, I said, nah, I'm good. I gotta go. Cause, I'm feeling tipsy and shit. And if I don't get home, shit, nigga, like, I'm gonna be asleep, in Dallas and shit somewhere. And he was like, let me holler at you real quick. Mind you, his girl inside. So she called his phone and she like, where you go? And he was like, I just went to the car for a minute. I'll be back in there, stay up in there and shit. I'll be back in there, just order some more drinks and shit. And she said, okay, baby, and shit. And she just in there having fun. I'm like, bitch, if that was me, I'd be coming here to try to find my nigga and see where he at and what he doing and shit. So I'm still leaning on against the wall and shit. And I'm like, anyway, shit, I see your girl come, so you might want to go back in there shit. And he was like, nah, I'm good. She'll be alright. Like that shit. And then he was like, so you mess around? And I said, what you talking about mess around? And the nigga do me like this he do. Mess around. And I said, oh, you asking my sexual preference is what you asking? And I'm open, so I don't give a fuck. I said, I'm gay. I said, I'm gay and shit. He was like, oh. I said, what is that an issue? And he was like, nah, nah. He said, I kind of figured that and shit. And I was like, oh. So he was like, come sit with me in my car and shit real quick. And I said, I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that shit. He was like, come on, I ain't gonna do shit. He said, come on, shit. And I was like, all right, and shit. So we sit in the car. He light his blunt and shit and started smoking and shit. And he was like, just asking me questions and shit. And he was like, what kind of shit you do and shit. And I was like, what you mean and shit. And he was like, you mess around. And I said, but you got a girl. He was like, so? He said, so? He said, I've been curious a little bit. And I said, curious about what? And he was like, dude. And I was like, oh. I said, so you curious, you want to try shit with her? And he was like, something like that, but I ain't no homo shit. But something like that. And I was like, well, I don't know about that and shit. So the nigga he opened his like that thing in the middle of the car and shit. So he opened that part right there, where like I guess it's not the glove box, but it's the armrest of the. And nigga had condoms galore up in there, like I'm talking about magnums and shit like that and all that. So I guess he wanted me to see it and shit, cause he opened it and shit. He had lube in there and shit. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I think it's time to go. And I was sitting there. I was sitting there and shit, and I was like, well, shit, it's been nice meeting you, shit, I gotta go. And he was like, you got a phone number and shit? And I was like, I don't know about that, because you got a girl and shit, and really, I ain't about that life and shit. I really ain't, trying to get into shit like that. And he was like, let me get your number, let's get to know each other and shit. And I was like, alright, so I gave him my phone number and shit. He got me his and shit. So I drive back. I drive back to town. You know where I stay. I drive back and shit. The nigga, he was like, "What you doing?" And I said, "Shit, I just put it to my house." He was like, "Oh, let me swing by and shit." And I was like, "Ain't your girl with you and shit?" I was like, "Ain't your girl with you?" He was like, "Nah, I'm about to drop her ass off at the house and shit." And I said, "Oh," and she said, "Who you talking to?" She said, "Who you talking to?" And he was like, "I'm talking to my cousin and shit like that." She was like, "Oh, tell him I said hi." And I was like, "Oh shit, what the fuck did I just get into?" And then he said send me your location. So I was like, all right, and I sent it to him and shit. And then in about a few minutes, the nigga pulled up and shit, and he knocked on my door, and I was like, and I opened the door and shit. So we standing in the door and shit, and he was like, "You ain't gonna invite me in?" And I was like, I said, "I don't really invite people over and shit. I really don't know and shit." I said, "I don't even know why I gave my address and shit because this shit I don't really normally do and shit." And he was like, "What you afraid of?" And I was like, "Nothing." I was like, "I ain't afraid of shit. But you got a whole bitch. And, I ain't got time for all that shit." And he was like, "Don't worry about it," shit. And I was like, "Oh." So she called the phone again. She said, "When you gonna be home? Where you go?" And he said, "I went to my cousin's house. I told your dumb ass that." And she was like, "Don't be talking to me like that. Like, bitch, I just asked where you went, whatever, because I was about to start cooking and shit." And he was like, "I'll be home in a minute," and shit. And he hung up in her face and shit. And I said, "Well, I guess you gotta go, because obviously she wants you home and shit." And he was like, "Nah, I go home when the fuck I want to go home and shit." And I was like, "Oh, so he one of them niggas and shit. He one of controlling niggas and shit, or whatever shit." And I was like, "Oh." So I guess he had her in check because baby, he kept sending her the voicemail shit. And then the nigga was like, "So you gonna help me out?" And I said, "Well, what shit?" And the nigga kissed me, and I was like, "Bitch, you are straight. Like, you got a whole bitch. Like, nigga, you was just in the club with your bitch. Like, you have a whole bitch. Like, nigga, you just kissed me and you got a whole fucking bitch. Like, y'all are so fucking confusing. Like, you straight men are so fucking confusing. Like, what the fuck? Like, nigga, you got a whole bitch. One nigga got tattoos all over him and shit." And I'm like, bitch, like, I'm not with this shit. Like, you got a whole bitch. One, you got a whole bitch. She nosy than a bitch. She keep calling shit annoying and shit. Two, ain't you straight? Ain't you straight? And I said, "Ain't you straight?" And the nigga was like, "No homo, but shit, I'm curious and shit." And I said, by saying no homo doesn't mean you not gay or you not bisexual. And he was like, "I ain't gay, bro. I ain't gay. I'm just curious." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So he was like, he pulled out his dick and shit. And he was like, "So you gonna help me or not?" And I was like, I mean, it is nice, but you're straight. And, you know, I'm trying to stop messing around with you DLs and shit because, y'all do too much. And he was like, "So what's up?" So we fuck, and we fuck about an hour. The girl called again, and she was like, "You on your way or what?" And he was like, "Bitch, don't call my motherfucking phone. I said I'd be home and shit." And I was like, "Oh shit." So I was like, "Okay, time to go." And I told him time to go, and he was like, "Nah, I ain't done and shit." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Nigga, you're straight. One, yo, girl calling and shit, and you gotta go home, shit." So we fucking on shit. The nigga bust, and I'm like, "Okay, so that was fun, but we gotta go." And he was like, "Shit, what you doing? What you doing tomorrow?" And I was like, "Tomorrow?" I said, "Bitch, nigga, I don't even know you like that." Second of all, not only do I not know you, but nigga, you're straight, and I ain't trying to get in on that. And you got a girl, and I seen you with your girl at the club. Like, nigga, I ain't trying to get in on that. And he was like, "I'm a pass by," and I was like, "No, you not." "No, you not. You gonna call first or text first to see where I'm at." And he said, "Like I said, I'm gonna pass by." And I was like, "Nigga, where'd you think this is?" And he kissed me and he said, "I'll see you later." And I said, "What the fuck did just happen? Like, nigga, you're straight. Like, I just saw you in the club with your motherfucking girl." But This is so juicy. I gotta do part two, baby, because this is juicy and I'm about to run out of time. I gotta go back to work. So, like, comment, subscribe, share everywhere, and part two will be coming up next. Love y'all. This shit is too juicy. I gotta put this in the second video. Love y'all. Bye.